I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I did not think she was an idiot. I now think she's a moron. She's not that smart. Forgive me. I'm still one of those people who gets wooed by titles. I'm like, she was the Attorney General of the state of California. You know, like, how dumb could she be? Like, dumb. The answer is very, very dumb is the answer. And I've come to that conclusion just with my own eyes and ears from watching and listening to her. She cannot put two sentences together. I mean, the old man is actually losing his mental faculties. She's just not a smart person.
Kamala Harris comes across like that group project partner everyone remembers, the one who never actually does the work, swoops in at the end to claim credit, and then freezes with a nervous laugh when pressed for answers she clearly doesn't have. Her career has been stitched together with speeches so tangled and clumsy they sound like word jumbles that even Google Translate would refuse to process. Megyn Kelly pulls back the curtain on all of it, cutting past the staged imagery and polished branding to reveal someone less like a bold pioneer and more like an unprepared understudy stumbling through her lines on the political stage.
Who decided to pop up this week at the Leading Women Defined Summit. What a terrible name for a summit. The Leading Women Defined Summit in California. And had this to say, SOT 26.
Each day in these last few months in our country, and it understandably creates a great sense of fear.
From the start, Kamala Harris has been presented less as a leader and more as a packaged symbol, carefully marketed for what she represents rather than what she delivers. Megyn Kelly underscores how much of her political career feels like a publicity exercise, built on optics instead of achievement. The glowing headlines that celebrate her as historic aren't tied to tangible accomplishments but to image-making. Kelly highlights how Harris didn't rise by demonstrating consistent capability, but by being strategically positioned, relying on recycled buzzwords, and that awkward laugh that surfaces whenever the substance runs thin.
By the way, before we take a break, was Kamala Harris drunk in this clip or wasn't she? It went everywhere while we're on the topic of public drunkenness.
We think about like these moments where we see things that are being taken, but also let's see it as nature abhors a vacuum. So where there's a vacancy, then let's fill it. Yeah.
The irony is that Kamala Harris was sold to the public as a sharp prosecutor, someone trained to dismantle lies, project authority, and hold others accountable. Yet, as Megyn Kelly points out, that image collapses the moment Harris faces even basic questions from the press. Instead of clarity, her answers spiral into the kind of rambling wordplay that has made her a permanent fixture of internet compilations and viral memes. She speaks at length, but delivers nothing, like someone frantically trying to pump air into a balloon with a gaping hole, plenty of noise, but no results to show for it.
Let's know that the reality is that the progress of our nation has always been about the expansion of rights, not the restriction of rights. Mm-hmm. We're seeing a U-turn right now, but we have to keep fighting. We have to keep clear our rights. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean we don't see the beauty in everything, right? These things all coexist. But I believe we fight for something, not against something.
I'm going to give you my verdict. Not drunk, just her normal self. That's how she is. And full of profundity.
Kelly goes further, dissecting Harris's speeches that so often drift into accidental comedy. When she tries to address weighty issues like foreign policy, inflation, or immigration, the pattern repeats, phrases reshuffled and recycled, as though rearranging the same words might magically create depth. What emerges instead is a portrait of a politician afraid to commit to anything real, padding every thought with repetition as if it were armor. Kelly frames her as the first vice president who could deliver an entire TED Talk on the art of speaking, endlessly without ever managing to say something meaningful.
Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
Kamala Harris, dumb as ever.
I mean, she looked drunk to me.
She always.
I don't want to I don't want to throw around any crazy charges here, but that's not coherent.
Doesn't she always?
And then comes the question of authenticity, or, more accurately, the absence of it. Megyn Kelly dismantles the notion that Harris is a genuine leader, casting her instead as an actor stuck with a poorly written script, always leaning too hard into the performance. The awkward laughter, the long pauses, the overdone nods, they feel less like natural reactions and more like calculated attempts to project sincerity. Kelly emphasizes how Harris manages the strange feat of sounding both overly rehearsed and shockingly unprepared in the same breath, a trait that might pass in a local playhouse but falls apart under the glare of national politics.
Whenever she does speak, it's so cringy. That remark about what's next, I'm going to walk up these stairs, is so telling. She's so dumb. She's just not clever. And this is yet another example that's making the rounds today. It's a flashback from just April, not that long ago, when she was asked by Spectrum News what it would do to race relations if Trump repeals some of these DEI policies that she and Joe Biden have infiltrated the entire government with.
I think it's really important that we as Americans always embrace our history, the parts that we're proud of and the parts that we're not proud of, but that we can't forget.
On policy, Harris doesn't escape Kelly's critique either. The most glaring example is her role as the so-called border czar. Tasked with addressing one of the most pressing crises, Harris delivered not solutions but a string of press conferences heavy on platitudes and light on substance. Kelly compares it to hiring someone to repair a roof only to watch them stand outside, remarking on how wet the rain is. It's leadership theater stripped of actual leadership. Instead of confronting the problem, Harris seemed to be rehearsing for applause as the situation deteriorated. Even her public appearances, Kelly notes, often serve to magnify her weaknesses rather than showcase any strengths. Harris leans heavily on identity politics, reminding audiences she is a first in history more often than demonstrating that she is capable of handling the job itself. And Kelly doesn't shy away from the cringeworthy highlights that have come to define Harris's public image, the awkward space video where she spoke to hired child actors, the strained laughter in interviews, and the endless circular word games that fizzled into nothing. She strings these moments together like a reel of political slapstick, exposing Harris less as a leader and more as a case study in how not to command the stage.
She's just not a smart person. And it concerns me because that's all we have in line on the Democratic side. And as Trump's numbers continue to go up and up and up, and I realize some of the polls are showing him beating Joe Biden now in a hypothetical matchup, he's still very vulnerable. He did not win in 2020, and it looks like it's going to be the same matchup. And honestly, Joe Biden's knocking on, the Grim Reaper's door, and she could be the president of the United States in the next 6 years by default, if things go, in a dark and upsetting way. I'm concerned.
The running joke is that Kamala Harris could make something as simple as ordering a sandwich sound like a baffling lecture on the meaning of bread. Instead of tackling real problems, she burns political capital on moments that practically beg to be parroted on late-night TV. And then there's the disappearing act. Whenever the administration faces genuine crises, Harris is nowhere to be found, only resurfacing for low-risk photo ops or ceremonial appearances. Kelly skewers this as the political equivalent of being a backup dancer in a music video, present when convenient, invisible when it actually counts. Yet despite the gaffes, the awkward sound bites, and the failures, the narrative pushed around her is still that of a bold, groundbreaking leader, a portrayal Kelly dismantles with pointed precision.
Lead. Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
Sunny's reading off from her cards.
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
I guarantee you that's being made into an ad right now. It might hit before we close out this